who has a new book to help guide you with these steps to grasp your confidence and own your power. I love that.
Look around the room. You'll see that you're not so alone after all, and that unconfidence could look like any of us. Maybe your whole life you have been told that the best wins, but I'm telling you right now that the best known will win. Good morning. It is Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, and this is a webinar that I put on for today, but I would love to know who is here watching because I can't see you guys. So if you are watching this, and it doesn't matter if it's on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or wherever, go ahead and put it in the chat that you are watching this webinar today, what your name is, and what part of the world you are watching from. When I invited people from all over the world. Looks like John, you made it. John, you're from Australia. I love it. I can't wait to actually meet you, John. Adam from DC, what's up? I love it. So thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming today. So, we've got more. I love it. Hey, Tara, good to catch you up so early. I love that. Oh, so nice. Well, keep those comments coming, guys, because I'm going to have a really cool conversation today. And by the way, this webinar today is for you. I want to really instill some confidence with people today, specifically spiritual confidence, because some of us feel a calling. We feel a calling to do something bigger in our lives, but maybe we're not confident. Maybe doubt is kicking in. Maybe you're not sure of your next steps, but you feel a deep spiritual calling. So this is for you if you are spiritually hungry and feel that deeper calling within yourself, and you just need that next step of courage to make it. And we are also hearing from Felicia from New Jersey. Awesome. And feel free to use this as a networking opportunity as well. Any chance you get to network, take it, especially with like-minded people. So feel free to go ahead and put your LinkedIn URLs in the chat as well, if LinkedIn is your preferred platform or wherever. I think it's really important for like-minded people to connect up with each other and support each other. So I will go ahead and share my screen. And as I'm talking, by the way, again, put it in the chat. What's resonating with you about this? What you love about this? If this is making you more confident spiritually, right? So today it's about from calling to confidence, walking in purpose. I think that's so important. And ultimately trusting God. Now we're going to be talking about one of my, Nia's here as well. I want to shout out Nia. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite biblical figures of all time, King David. Is anybody else a King David fan like I am? I just love his story. And part of the reason why I love his story so much, I was the youngest of 5, overlooked my whole life. And I'm also the shortest, by the way, in my family, minus my mom, right? So I'm 5'2", short, youngest of 5, always felt like I was the outlier in so many different ways. Now, King David's story resonates with me so much as well because he had a lot of brothers. I can't remember, what was it, 7, 8 brothers, something like that. Maybe somebody can refresh my memory. But he was the youngest of all of these brothers, and he was overlooked by his family, by his community, by pretty much everyone around him. And something else that's interesting, he was a shepherd boy. So he spent his entire childhood out in the fields with the sheep. Now, this is an interesting thing about history. When the prophet Samuel came to find the next king of Israel, and he went to Judea, and he was presented with all of Jesse's sons except for David, right? But the prophet Samuel knew that none of these were the fit. And he asked Jesse, who is David's father, do you have any more sons? And keep in mind, he had already presented him like 7, right? And David was out in the fields, overlooked completely. But as soon as the prophet Samuel saw David, he saw potential. And this is so important because how often in our lives have we been overlooked, especially by our families, right? Especially by those closest to us in our inner circle. And this is so common. I see this in entrepreneurship a lot as well. We start a business, we write a book, we do all these things. And you'll find that strangers on the internet support you more than your own family, right? So this is something that has happened since ancient times. So we can take comfort in David's story if we're feeling overlooked, right? But he was chosen by God. So it didn't matter that he was overlooked by man. He was chosen by God. And what is one of my favorite scriptures that it says, man sees the outward appearance, but God reads the heart and sees the heart. Man can't do that, but God can. So again, it's not about proving to other people what we can and can't do. There's always someone who knows us more than anyone and sees our potential. I love this picture. AI helped me a lot with with these pictures. I can't even imagine being King David, again, a young shepherd boy, short in stature, right? And then facing this Goliath, this giant, right? So I love that AI helped us with this picture because it puts it all into perspective, right? Now, one thing I like to think about that I don't really hear anybody else talking about, because when we think about King David, we think of the highlight reel. He was the king of Israel. That's typically what we think about. But we don't think about the shepherd boy, that period in between before he stepped into his calling. But one of the things that I particularly like to think about is, what if he doubted his calling? Has anybody ever thought about that, or is that just me? Right in the chat. I like to think about, what if he doubted it? Would the course of history have been forever changed? And the answer is yes, right? Now, doubt is that insidious thing, right? We all have it. And it can whisper to us, who do you think you are to do this? Who's ever heard that before, right? But what does doubt do? It delays our future. It delays our potential. It delays us stepping into our calling, our purpose. But the difference between doubt and what David did, right? Even if he did have doubt, he had so much faith that even it overrode any doubt that he had in his mind. And even if he would have doubted himself, again, that faith was multiples of it. So just imagine for a moment, though, for just a second, if David would have doubted his calling and said, you know what? No, I am the shepherd boy. I am an outcast. I don't deserve, I don't belong. I can't do this. I've never been a leader. I've only just been out in the fields with sheep. I'm nobody. Would he have been wrong by saying that, right? That was his life up to that point. But we have to remember that it's not our past that defines us. It's what God sees in us. Again, the Lord reads the heart, right? Now, the fate of the entire world would have been completely changed. And we know from David's lineage that the Messiah was born. So just think about that for a moment, right? How powerful it would have been to the course of human history if David would have said no to his calling and given in to doubt, given in to all of the naysayers around him. He wouldn't have had the lineage of the Messiah. Can you imagine? Wow, it's really powerful to think about. Now, it says in Psalms, which Psalms is primarily written by King David, and I just love Psalms. It's one of those, parts in the Bible where I turn to if I'm feeling doubtful, if I'm not confident. What's beautiful about Psalms is so much of it is poetry, really, when you think about it, right? I love this expression in Psalms: you are wonderfully made. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. And I want to shout out to Leslie right here, Leslie Flowers. Faith must be stronger than fear. David's faith is stronger. Yes, it is. And one more comment. We have perfect faith in our fears. I love that. So we are wonderfully made. None of us is here by accident. We're uniquely designed, and nobody has our combinations of experience that exists right now. And I like to think of each one of us as a prescription. We are prescribed. We have a unique design and purpose. And chances are there's somebody out there praying for you right now. Has anybody ever thought about that? Go ahead and put it in the chat. That you are so uniquely designed that you're actually a prescription for this world, for somebody else's pain or woes. And we all have a divine purpose. Our talents aren't accidents, they are assignments. Have you ever thought about that? Our talents aren't accidents, they are assignments. And that we are positioned for greatness. Again, here in Psalms 139:14, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. I love that. But it's not always easy to step into our callings, right? Because we have all of these external factors in our lives, right? And it's not just external factors. Again, it's internal factors like self-doubt and other things. But I know that this is a choice that we all have, right? We have free will. We can, just because we have a talent, a purpose, and an assignment doesn't mean we step into it. And I want to emphasize that because that's important. We can delay, right? We can choose not to, but I want you guys to choose to step into your calling. So I think this is something that's important too. When we think about faith, it's certainty beyond logic, isn't it? Certainty beyond logic. Faith isn't necessarily something that it happens overnight, right? It's something that is a continual progression for us. But we do need to recognize that this is a choice. And we have the tools and the blueprint within us, that's our purpose, to satisfy this calling. But it's up to us to step into it. So we have to silence that doubt, right? And how often in our lives have we let doubt get in the way? Have we said, you know what, I'm not going to start that business because what if nobody buys? What if I fail? I'm not going to write that book or share my story because what if nobody cares? Right? What if they mock me? What if they ridicule me? All of these things, right? We have to walk beyond logic. Again, that's what faith is. It's certainty beyond logic. And it says in 1 Corinthians 5:7, we walk by faith, not by sight. It's not about seeing is believing. It's believing is seeing. Let me repeat that one more time. So again, faith is certainty beyond logic. Seeing is not believing. Believing is seeing, right? But in order to do this, we have to take action, don't we? And I want to take just a second here to recognize Nia. Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. I love that. And Felicia, you must believe to receive God's promises and blessings. Absolutely, right? So important. So we have to take that action. And this is another part where we can really overthink ourselves to death, right? What is the first step? What do I even do? Well, daily prayer is a great start. Remember, your action steps don't have to be leaps and bounds and marathons. Your first action step really is reaching out to the one who created you and asking for some advice, asking for maybe a dose of courage if you don't feel like you have it. And this is important too, because your creator, our creator, has known us the entire time. So this is your longest standing relationship that you guys have ever had, that I've ever had, right? Why not reach out to the one who knows you the most, who created you? So important. So keep this in mind, that the first step is not some leap and bound and marathon. It is daily prayer. And this is something that I have implemented in my life as well, because we all get busy. But before my feet hit the floor, so if my alarm goes off in the morning, or if I wake up naturally, whatever, before I get out of bed, the first thing that I do, I close my eyes one more time and have an expression of prayer and gratitude that, you know what, I just won the lottery today. I woke up. That in itself is a miracle. And I ask God, thank you. I first express thanks for that, right? And then I say, thank you for another opportunity to fulfill my purpose that you have laid before me. So powerful, right? Does anybody else do that? Write in the chat. If not, I strongly encourage it. You know, a little segue here. The first thing I used to do in the morning, because I'm a business owner, I would check my phone. Big mistake. Yikes. Don't do that. I would check my phone and I would be on Instagram or whatever. And I felt so disconnected from everything. I stopped doing that and I started praying. So Felicia says, you must believe to receive God's promises and blessings. John says, yes. Felicia says, yes, exclamation mark. John says, daily and nightly prayer. Absolutely. And, you know, I like to think of this as a bookend, right? We bookend our day with prayer. We start it with prayer and we end it with prayer. How powerful is that? Keith says, yes. Hey, Keith, by the way. And Michael says, giving your first fruits to him each day. Prayer happens when you wake up each day. Absolutely. Before you do anything. So key. Don't do anything without praying. Because ultimately, it's about avoiding those distractions in life, right? We're all busy. But busyness, again, may fill your schedule. But the only time you hear God is when you're still in spirit. And I want you to think about this too, because, you know, going back to King David, think about him. So in the Bible, it also says that King David was a man after God's own heart. Wow. Don't you want to be referred to as that by your creator, as someone after God's own heart? And one of the reasons probably he was a man after God's own heart, he was in nature all the time, right? He was close to creation. He wasn't busy. He didn't have a filled schedule with all of these meetings and distractions. He was a shepherd. He was close to nature, and he spent his time praising and worshiping God in thoughtful meditation and prayer. Lots to learn from that. And Nia says, first thing in the morning, I am called to be still and know I am God. Psalms. I love that. Yep. Here we go. Psalms again, right? And John says, prayer can also be simply sitting and listening in silence. I love that. Again, it's thoughtful silence, thoughtful stillness, right? But we have obstacles. Let's be honest. Life gets kind of in the way sometimes, right? And we can feel unqualified. We can let other people's opinions get in our way. We can have that fear of failure and hesitation. And if you're like me, you can be impatient. That's one of the qualities that I would love to one day work on. But I typically am impatient. I'll admit that. But there's no unqualified, right? Again, you are made for a purpose on purpose. You have a prescription within you, a unique design that is somebody else's prayer, is somebody else's need, fills a void somewhere. So there is no unqualified. You were made for a purpose. And it's not about other people's opinions of you. This is the calling God has placed on you. And one of my favorite secular books is called The Science of Getting Rich. It was published in 1910 by Wallace D. Wattles. And in that book, it says that if you don't have the ability or don't feel like you have the ability will be furnished to you. What you need to do is walk in your purpose, right? And trust the Creator that He will be with you as you're taking these steps. Again, the first step is prayer. It's not a big step, but it's a step that we need to have daily to communicate with our Creator, right? And there is no fear of failure. If you're walking in your purpose and you take steps every single day to do that, there is no failure. It's only learning. And I want to highlight this recent post that I did and with the Great Commission Gazette, and it was for the C-Suite for Christ, the C-Suite for Christ group, right, that I'm a part of. And I had no idea this message would be so popular, but it's got about 395 likes and 90 comments, 18 reposts. This, topic of King David is something that's always been a passion for mine and has always touched my heart, right? But for many people, they might not, think about King David that much, right? Again, King David was about 1,000 years or so before Christ. So this is ancient history we're talking about. But it goes to show you that when you speak of your faith, when you talk about things that you're passionate about, that you're purposeful about, it gets noticed and rewarded. Don't worry if you're going to fail. Don't think about it. Just walk in your purpose, walk with intention, and walk with the fact knowing that you have someone, again, who has created you, who knows you. And because of that, you are here for absolute reason. So I believe that. So this message of walking in certainty like King David really spoke to people on LinkedIn last week. And it showed me that I am in my purpose and walking towards my calling that God has created for me. It's so powerful, right? So I like this to think about this as well is, we all have impact and we can create more impact. But it's not copying somebody else. It's not trying to be like somebody else. It's not mimicking something else. It is simply stepping into the person we are designed to be. And for me, my thing is confidence. And one of my biggest passions is helping people walk in confidence and in their purpose, because I do believe it is God-given. Did this message resonate with you today? I would love for you guys to put in the comments if it resonated with you. And I want to also mention that I'm writing a book about this subject. So my book is going to be equipping Christian leaders with confidence. And I see that this is a message that is so, so needed in this world right now. It's so important, right? Because there's so many distractions out there. We're all so busy. But if we can really lean into why we were designed in the first place, again, really thinking of ourselves as a prescription, then you'll see that confidence is a byproduct of that, right? And the more you walk in your purpose, on purpose, the greater the level of confidence becomes. I love that, right? And John says here, God's test is rooted in trust. Absolutely. Keith says, on target with where I'm at. I would love to hear more about your journey, Keith, as well, right? Where are we at? Are we at a place where we're feeling a lot of doubt seeping into our lives? Or are we a place where we're feeling a higher level of confidence in our calling and faith? One of the things that really changed for me was even just a couple months ago, right? Because even if we're spiritual people on a spiritual journey, it gets deepened all the time if we continue these action steps of prayer and meditation and getting closer to God. I kind of threw my hands up in the air a little bit. And I said to God, I said, you know what? I no longer want what I want. I no longer want what I want. I want what you want for me. What you want for me. Game over. It was a total game changer. I realized that I was leaning too much on my own understanding and not putting faith in God where it should be. And ever since then, my confidence has been through the roof, especially with spirituality. I love it. Michael says, thanks, Tara. Great reminders for today. I hope you have an amazing day. Same to you, Michael. But let me know if this is something you guys want to do more of. I'm happy to facilitate webinars anytime and lift up my spiritual-minded Christian leaders. But I would love your help for sure, because like I said, I'm writing a book about this exact same topic, about stepping into our calling, right, with confidence. So I need your help. If this is something you're interested in, I would love to interview you on my podcast. My next season coming up is going to be geared toward Christian leaders specifically. And I would love for anybody that I interview as well to be a part of the launch team on my book when it comes out. And you know what? If we have a great interview, I would love to feature you in the book, maybe even if it's a quote or two. How cool would that be, right? So let me know if that is something you are interested in. If you want to be on my podcast, if you want to read the book before it launches, if you want to even be featured in the book, I would love to bring my friends and network into my projects and what I am doing. Guys, it was an absolute pleasure today for sure. And again, let me know if this is something that you want me to do on the regular. Felicia says, yes, please. Faith building is a way to fuel our day. Oh my God, yes. Hey, Nia, what was your favorite part of today? Anybody have a favorite part they want to share before we head out for today? What was something that you learned? What was something that gave you confidence? What was something that instilled your spirit? Because today's Monday morning, and it's before we go to work officially, right? And again, the day can get ahead of us. The day can kick us down. What somebody says at work can really hinder us or instill us with confidence, can it? So when we start our weeks, our Monday off strong, with God-infused faith, what can knock us down? Nothing, right? Nothing can knock us down. And Nia says, I just feel refreshed and seen. Much like David, I find myself wondering who I am. Thanks, TG. Hope you had appreciate your time and knowledge today. And he is in Australia. And thank you so much, John, for coming today. I'm really glad that this helped everyone. Again, think like David. It's not about where you came from. It's not even about where you are right now. None of that is relevant. What matters is where you're going. And the cool thing about that is that God knows what you are capable of. Remember, God reads the heart. It's not about what man thinks. It's about what God already knows about you. Guys, we will see you next time. And I will let you know when I'm going to set this next webinar up, because it looks like we had a lot of great participation today and a lot of people really want this message. So I will be doing another one for sure. I will see you on the next one. Take care.